municipalities to create police review boards with subpoena power. And that's Bill A 4656 S 2963, which was introduced by Assemblywoman Angela McKnight, and we want that bill passed. It's been through the legislative process, it's been released from committee, and now the only thing that remains is for the Speaker of the Assembly to post it and the President of the Senate to post it and for the legislature to vote on it and pass it. People have been demanding a police review board with subpoena power for over 60 years. Ever since New York City created their police review board, people in New Jersey, not just Newark, but in New Jersey, have been saying that we wanted police review boards here. And those forces that are opposed to civilian oversight of police. How you doing? How you doing? Hey, how you doing? Those forces that are opposed to civilian oversight of police, almost from the beginning, opposed police review boards. It's not an accident that we don't have police review boards in New Jersey. It's not an accident that we don't have police review boards with subpoena power. Police organizations in the 60s pressed the legislature to propose, to introduce bills and get bills passed that essentially would hem in municipalities from creating such review boards with subpoena power. So we're just trying to catch up, and I don't really understand what the opposition is. New York has had a police review board with subpoena power for over 60 years. The world didn't end, the sky didn't fall. In fact, New York police have some of the best contracts in the whole United States. So the only thing that remains is that they just simply don't want the people to control the police, to have authority over the police. And one can see that it is absolute, we need community control of the police. You know, just last night I was listening to, and I know other people heard it, the incident where the police pulled the paraplegic man out of his car and beat him up. It's an epidemic. You know, there's COVID, that epidemic, and then there's the epidemic of police brutality. Now, last year, after George Floyd was killed, all of our elected officials stood up and said what was, and even some police officials stood up and said what happened to George Floyd was terrible. But since then, very little has been done concretely to change policing so that we don't have future George Floyds and future Breonna Taylors and other victims of police brutality.
Why do you think that our legislature perceives that this is such an egregious departure from how they're conducting business now, A, and B, what do you think that, what explains the police resisting this so strenuously?
Well, as I said, actually, I don't know what is constraining the legislative leaders except the pressure that they're getting from police organizations. And, you know, I've heard rumors, I can't speak authoritatively, but I've heard rumors that they didn't want to post the bill before Election Day. And, you know, my feeling is, people are saying that, but my feeling is, I think if they hold something back long enough, they figure that the community support for it will wane and eventually disappear. And that's why we're doing this march, 67 miles from Montclair to Trenton, because we want to show that the support is still there. The demand for changing how policing is done in this country is still on the table as far as we're concerned. You know, because people are still being killed by the police. Police still use excessive force and are still violating people's constitutional rights. So that's why we're marching today, to try and push this back to the forefront of social consciousness.
Do you have any indication that on the other side of this election, November 2nd, legislative leadership will somehow move and decide that this is a priority for the next session?
I hope so. I mean, You asked me, do I have any concrete evidence for that? I don't have any concrete evidence, but my hope is that once the election is over, and I do believe that the Democrats will retain control of the legislature and that Governor Murphy will be reelected, they got to put it at the top of their legislative agenda. You know, police brutality is a big problem in this country. The police have killed people of all races, but the problem, just like COVID, disproportionately affects black people. Black people are one of the main constituencies of the Democratic Party. So the party seems to be able to accede to the desires of other members of the constituency of their constituency. Now it's time to do something for the African American community. You know, and again, I just need to reemphasize, police brutality is not a black problem. It's an American problem. Police kill more than 1,000 people every year. These are people of all races, but African Americans and Latinos are killed at disproportionately high rate, about 35%, and half of those are unarmed citizens. So it's a very serious problem. And they just came out, University of Washington. Thank you. Thank you. University of Washington just... That's great. University of Washington. Power to the people. University of Washington just came out with a study, I believe it was 2 weeks ago, showing that 17,000 deaths were mischaracterized or miscategorized, and that they should have been attributed as police killings. 17,000. So that's 17,000 in addition to the 1,000 people that are killed. You know, people don't know just what kind of shape we're in here in America. No police, nowhere else on the face of the earth, kill as many people as police in the United States. Among the industrialized countries, we're at the top of the list. I mean, you get places like Japan, they have crime, but you know, but they don't. The police might kill, a few people every year, but I mean, 1,000 people a year, and it's 1,000, and sometimes it's more than 1,000. It's crazy. You know, I saw a statistic said the black person is killed every 28 hours by the police in the United States. If that was any other ethnic group, racial group, there would be outrage in this country. But it's been normalized. And this is the great danger when such atrocities become normalized and people think, oh well, you know, that's how it always was and that's how it's gonna be. But we have to stand up and fight back. People don't know Dr. King talked about, even in his I Have a Dream speech, Dr. King talked about police brutality. He mentions it 2 or 3 times in his I Have a Dream speech. You know, it's a real problem, and that's why we're marching. I love these people that are marching with me today. You see they're black and white that are marching with us, that have taken time out of their lives to march with us. This gentleman in front of me, he came, Steve Young, he came all the way from Atlantic City. Holly is right in front of you, is from Bergen County. You know, the fact that they would take time out of their lives to do something like this